going to start the map in this video, so we're going to come up here, right click, add item, and then we're going to click map. There's only one type of map to add, and you could call this loan application to loan work and put the word map at the beginning. And so we close this to get more room on the screen. We pick our input schema, which is going to be loan application, and our output schema is loan work. Expand the fields here. And in a simple map, you just start dragging and dropping fields across, but there's going to be very little simple about this map at all. So let's look at what the instructions say. So the customer name needs to be trimmed and space separated in the format John Q. Doe. So to know if it's trimmed or not, what we really need to do is, in our input file, sorry, I got to reopen the input file, we might have like blanks around the name. So what they want to do is make sure we trim those blanks off. So the only way we know if it's working is we have the blanks there to begin with. And so to do this, we're going to close again this side of the screen, and we're going to open our toolbox over here with our functoids. And we're going to start off with some string functoids. So we know we're going to have to concatenate some names together, and we know we're going to have to trim. And I'm going to assume right now it's right trim, not left trim. So we're going to trim all three names. So it's going to be first name trimmed, middle name trimmed, and last name trimmed. And the instructions then say we want the last name followed by a comma. So we're going to take the last name into the concatenate, then the first name, then the middle initial. And now we're going to look at the concatenate functoid. This is also where, just for a hint, I showed you in a prior video, you can put a, like here, first name, FN, and that's going to be MI, middle initial. And the next line is going to be last name. So now when you open the concatenate functoid, you have little hints in here to show you what's what. So we need last name, and then after that we need a comma and a blank, then the first name, and then we're going to need a blank after the first name, then the middle initial, followed by a period. And then of course we map that. To map it, when it's highlighted like this, you see when you click it, it either tries to move it. If you want to drag it over here to customer name, what you have to do is if it has the handlebars on it, you have to click it, actually click off of it to make the handlebars go away. Then you click it and drag without letting go. Because if you click it and let go, the handlebars come back, and that means you're in the move mode where you can move it around. Okay, so that's that. Spouse name, I believe we can just copy. It didn't say whether it wanted first name or last name, so we'll just copy spouse name over here. Now it says combined salary. Sum of the salaries of the applicant, the spouse, and all the children. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the hints here. So we're going to go down to hint number 4. Must use a cumulative sum to sum all the children's salaries, and regular mathematical addition to sum the other salaries. So see, this is what this video is, and this tutorial is trying to force you to think about, is how to do these different types of things. So we're going to take the applicant's salary and then the spouse's salary and add those together. And then we need a sum. When you have a loop like this, this is a record that can occur many times. The cumulative functoids will work over all the children in that group. So we have here cumulative sum, and we want to sum all their salaries and then add that to these two salaries to come up with the total combined salary. Now, very similar, the number of children, it's not a cumulative functoid, but it's a advanced functoid. And I always forget which one it is. It's not called count. That would be too easy. So, oh, there it is, record count. Okay. So it does have the word count in it. So how many child names you have would be how many children you have. Now, what is the age of the oldest child? This is where it gets really tricky. Also notice here you have total children's salary. Well, that would be this because we've already totaled their salary. So this shows that you can have the same functoid going to more than one place. So we're going to save the harder ones for last. The highest car value. We can see they have 3 cars, so that's going to be kind of complicated too. The home appraised value, that's easy. We just copy that across. The total value of all cars, that's pretty easy. So again, we're going to do the easy ones and then we're going to test, and then we'll come back and do the slightly more difficult ones. So I'm looking for the math functoids again here. Where did they go? Okay, so I need the addition, and we're going to total all 3 cars. So that's this plus this plus this, and the output goes over here. How many cars they have? Well, again, this is, since we don't have a loop here, we can't put a count on it. And that's why I specifically designed it kind of a non-normalized way. So we're going to have to be creative on how do we count the number of cars. The average car value, that's going to be a little tricky too. The name of the first child, well, again, that's going to depend on their birth date when they were born. And then the loan points, the exercise actually gives us a formula that we're supposed to implement for the points. So it says give each person 10 points. If their salary is over 30, add 10 points. For each extra 10,000 they make, give them 5 points, and then subtract 3 points for each child. So this is not that hard, but let's just do what we have now, and then we'll come back and do that next. So now we need to test this map. We go back over here to Solution Explorer. We need the name of our input test file again. So our test file is here. We copy the name of the file. We go to our map. We do the right-click Properties, and then here it says Test Map Instance. I copy my file name there, and I must change this from Generate Instance to XML. Then I can right-click and say Test Map, and then we go look at the output. And the idea is we will fix any errors we have now, and then we'll come back and add new functionality. We have one error here. It says something loan work has an invalid child element. Total children's salary. Okay, list of possible. So what it's saying here is we don't we haven't defined all the required fields yet, but that's okay. So I'm going to do a control click here. You see, I did get the name right. Walters, last name first, comma, first name, space, middle initial, period. The combined salary looks approximately right. Number of children was 3. Total children's salary, $13,500. Well, we can check that real quick here. So I had 3 children, 2 children that worked. So it should be 12,000 plus 1,500 should be 13,500. That's right. Home appraised value was a simple copy, and total value of all cars, 25,000. So let's go back to the 3 cars. 6,000 and 19,000 plus 0 is in fact 25,000. So far so good. Now let's go try to do the loan points. So make a little more room on the screen here. So it says give each person 10 points. Now we have to interpret what this rule actually means. I think it means give each applicant 10 points. If they're married or not, that doesn't affect, the children actually subtract points. So I think each applicant just gets 10 points right off the bat. So we need like a fixed number here, which we could do a string concatenate and just put in as a default 10 points. Okay, so that's our starter points. And then it says if their salary is over 30,000, they get another 10 points. If the combined salary greater than 30,000. So here was our combined salary, which if we trace backwards here, came from, sorry, wrong one. This is where it gets confusing. There we are. So combined salary actually came out of this little plus sign right here. So what I need to do is kind of move that backwards a little. And the trick here is, like you see when I click on that, I can't move it back any further because its input is right here. So there actually has to be a left to right flow in the arrows here. And so this, we need to say, if it's greater than 30,000, give them 10 more points. So what we need is a logic if statement here. So if it's greater than, so now we copy that here. We look at the greater than functoid. If it's greater than 30,000, then what you're going to do is you're going to have another concatenate functoid here with another 10 points. I'm assuming that in the future these points might be different. So we then say add, so we need a plus sign. We need to add the fixed 10 points here. This is again where it gets a little tricky. What we need here is actually think about this 1 second. Okay, so let's look at what the logical functoid does. It says if it's true, if this number is bigger than 30,000, it actually returns the word true. And then there's a functoid that kind of goes with that called the value mapping functoid. So this is where it gets kind of funky here. So you copy the true from here to here, and if you look at the value mapping functoid, it has two parameters. The first one says if it's true, then the value of the second input is returned. Otherwise, nothing is returned. So we'll move this 10 over here, and that will be the second input to that. And so now that plus this is going to accumulate our points so far. And now it says for each extra 10,000 they make, by extra I guess I mean every 10,000 they make over 30, we need to give them 5 more points. And by the way, just a kind of a hint here, you can always do this in VB script or actually C#, because now we can put C# into script right into our program. But right now I guess I'm trying to teach the functoids more than anything. So let's try to do it with functoids at least at first. And so what we need to do is find out how many more 10,000s they make over 30,000. So that'll kind of make you cross-eyed, won't it? So when I say them, their combined salary, that would be the whole family, which again is the output of this plus sign right here. So what we need to do is take their combined salary subtract 30 and then divide by 10. Okay? So this is where your functoids start getting kind of full. So here we need to have a numbers like 30,000, and we need to subtract that from here. So we need a minus sign. So we're going to take this minus 30, and so if he makes, just for instance, so the combined salary was 100, minus 30 would give us 70. And then we need to take that and divide by 10,000. So we need another concatenate that has 10,000 in it. Actually, take that back. We could put that right here. So in the divide, we're going to take this divided by, instead of using the concatenate functoid, we could actually put the 10,000 right here. Which means we could do the same thing here. I guess I just wasn't thinking. So there, that 30,000 there, let me delete it and let me put it right here. Okay. And then this one has to be, no, here we have a plus. So we could do the same thing on all these concatenates. That was a 10. So let's delete it and put the 10 here. So you can see there's many different ways of attacking the same problem. If 3 people or 10 people did this map, it would look differently for all 10 people. Okay, so now back to our formula. We divided by here 10,000. So that gave us a number, which would be the number of 10,000s they have, and they get 5 points for every set of 10,000 they have. So that would be a multiply. So basically, we're going to take this and then times 5. And then we're going to add that to this number here. So that number has to be to the right so we can join them together. Now, that should be our loan points. So again, what I would do is save it, and now I would do a test. I would go back and say loan application test map. Sorry, that's not the map. Map, and then right click test map. At least make sure you don't have any like mathematical errors. And then come over here, control click, and you can see here we do have some points, and I'm not actually going to do the math to make sure this is correct, because again it's kind of a stupid example, but if you were doing this in the real world, you would have to create probably 5 or 10 input files, and then you'd probably have to get your calculator out and run the math on all 10, and then run 10 maps and make sure you come up with the same numbers. So I'm just going to assume that is roughly correct right there. Okay, so now let's go back to the other kind of more difficult ones. So here we got number of children already, I believe. Okay, we got that. The age of the oldest child. So let's see what hint we have. It says see hint number 2. Use the cumulative minimum or max. Okay, so over here under cum, there's minimum and maximum. So if we put the minimum over here, the symbol is like a down symbol. We'll take their age, and we want the age of the minimum child would be the youngest. And if we take the cumulative max and take his age, that would be the age of the oldest child. So now let's do a test on that. So our oldest child, it says, is 17, and our youngest child is 5, and that is 100% correct. If I open my data file again, the oldest is 17, Johnny, and the youngest was 5, was Leroy. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my map, and let's try the next one. So the next thing is the highest car value. So we have 3 cars. How do we know which one is the highest? So high car value, see hint number 5. Use mathematical min-max functoids. Okay, so that is actually an easy one. So we just saw how cumulative min-max works. Now we're going to actually look at a regular min-max under mathematical. So here is the minimum value, and here is the maximum value. And so we're going to drag all 3 cars to find out what the minimum is of those 3, and then we're going to find out what the max is of